Welcome to Insights into Oracle Data Visualization Cloud Service. My name's Philip Ratcliffe and I represent Explorer UK. The presentation will take the form of a part slide presentation and part product demonstration. But firstly, I'd just like to spend a little bit more time introducing myself and Explorer. Okay, so who are Explorer? Well, we're a multiple award-winning Oracle Platinum partner. And for over 20 years, we've been providing solutions to business problems using UK-based teams of experts across a number of services. We're an Oracle engineered systems practice, and we incorporate the #1 Application Express consultancy in the United Kingdom. And we're very proud this year to have won the Oracle User Group Database Partner of the Year for the second year running, and also this year Systems Partner of the Year. So we offer development services and database support services, and you can see the services that we offer on the slide in front of you. So for development, for some customers we build applications, for others we train them, but for many we offer a combination of the two. And our database support includes support contracts, consultancy on both new and re-architected platforms, health checks and performance tuning. I'm a development consultant at Explorer, and I spend most of my time developing applications with Application Express. But in the last few months, I've spent a bit of time monitoring Oracle's activity in data analytics, particularly with regard to data visualization. So in October 2015, Oracle extended its portfolio of data analytics solutions by introducing Data Visualization Cloud Service, and then extended it further in May this year by releasing Data Visualization Desktop. But what is Data Visualization Cloud Service? Well, essentially it's a web-based data analytics solution, and it's a product that was released to respond to a growing market where business users are buying software in lieu of IT buying software. So if you're new to business analytics or starting out, then Data Visualization Cloud Service may be the product for you, but at the same time providing you with the opportunity to grow into Business Intelligence Cloud Service. Alternatively, you may be a Discovery user, and Discover is going out of support at the end of next year, and so you might be looking for an alternative product, and Data Visualization Cloud Service could provide that solution. But essentially, Data Visualization Cloud Service, DVCS, is trying to answer the business demand for a faster turnaround to data questions, including bypassing IT to some extent. So what are the objectives of Data Visualization Cloud Service, DVCS? Well, firstly, to offer powerful visual analytics. But in being accessible to everyone, there's no specialist IT skills required or no specific training needs, then it can do this in a fairly easy way. And by providing users with an element of self-service and bypassing IT, and allowing users to simultaneously discover their data and display their results, then reports can be developed really quite quickly. In order to achieve this, DVCS employs a number of fairly smart features, including helping the user to blend their data and also to help find the best visualization to represent their data. And with regard to DVCS in particular, because it's cloud-based and accessible by multiple users, then it enables a collaborative approach to working, both in exploring data and building your projects, and then for sharing that content for other users. So hopefully through the rest of the presentation and the demonstration, we'll see that DVCS has some nice features, but also perhaps one or two limitations. Okay, so let's go on to demonstrate some of Data Visualization Cloud Service. So in front of you here we have a kind of final project showing multiple visualizations in a single canvas. And so what I'll do for the demonstration, or throughout the demonstration, is show you the means, if you like, and how you would go about achieving results such as these, both from a system configuration aspect and also from end user, visual analyzer user aspect. So I've already logged into DVCS, and this is the home page that you're confronted with when you first sign in, and you can see that in the home page you're displayed your most recent projects. You can see your favorites. You have access to your folders that contain your projects, and from here you can create a new Visual Analyzer project. And at the top of the page you can see we've got a number of cards which provide access to other parts of the application, and it's through these parts of the application that I'm going to continue the demonstration, starting with the Academy and then kind of working backwards towards data sources, and then we'll take a look at Visual Analyzer itself. Okay, so if we go into the Academy, this is essentially the help resources that are available to you within Data Visualization Cloud Service. And there are a number of different types of resources available, including video guides, which are represented by the arrow icon. Additionally, we've got some tutorial walkthroughs, which are represented by the footprints, and then some online help pages where there is no icon. And you can see that there's quite extensive resource there, both to help you explore your data within Visual Analyzer, but also to help you configure your service using the console. And it's onto the console that we will move next. Okay, so the console in DVCS is basically the area of the application where we administer the service, particularly perhaps with regard to setting authorizations and maybe setting backup and restore. So you can see you've got a second menu down the left hand side, and I'll start by going through each of these in turn just to give a slight overview, quick overview, and then I'll come back and focus perhaps a little bit more particularly on users and roles. So in snapshots, essentially, this is the area where we take and download backups from the catalog, or alternatively restore from backup and upload your backups back into the catalog. Ideally, I would like to see it possible to take backups of individual projects. That's not available within DVCS. It's the whole catalog that the snapshot is taken for. If we go and look at this now onto search, index and monitor indexing, essentially this is the area where we schedule and monitor catalog crawls that index your catalog content to help users find the latest content when searching. Now by default, catalog crawls are scheduled daily, and they include all the shared folders, but you can see you can change the schedule and you can select which folders you want to include as part of your crawls. And then in monitor indexing, you can see the results of your catalog crawls, and also you have the opportunity to cancel any scheduled crawls before they've been initiated. Okay, so moving on to sessions. This is the area of the console where you can monitor user activity and view activity logs, including logs of underlying SQL that has been executed when users have been using the service. And you can get some more detailed logs of a session by clicking on the filter cursor by session radio button, and that will provide a bit more extensive detail. The issue SQL area within the console is for entering statements directly to interrogate your underlying data sources. This feature is potentially useful for testing and debugging within the system, but the SQL that you use can't be saved and therefore can't be sort of used into your projects. It's simply for sort of debugging purposes and testing. And safe domains is the area where you can specify a domain from which you can embed content. So for example, you could take some images from an external server and embed the content into your DVCS project by allowing images from, or alternatively you could take images from your Visualiser project and embed them into an external domain. Now by default all external domains are blacklisted, and you would need administrator rights to access the console to whitelist your domains as you see fit. But let's go back to what I would consider to be the sort of key area within the console, which is that for managing users and roles. And before I show you around by means of a demo within the user and role section, I'm just going to quickly return to the presentation slide and give a quick overview of users and roles, and in particular application roles. But a bit of a background first. You can't actually add users and roles within Data Visualization Cloud Service itself. This is actually done within Oracle Cloud My Services Administration. And then, so in My Services Administration, users and role profiles are created, and they're associated then to a particular cloud service such as DVCS. Now there are some predefined roles in My Services, including what's called the Identity Domain Administrator role, that by default get administrator privileges in DVCS. So you can't add users and roles in DVCS, but what you can do is create what are known as application roles. Now these actually form the foundation to controlling access within DVCS, controlling what users can see and do. And by default there are 4 predefined application roles within DVCS: administrator, user, viewer, and data loader. And data loader doesn't really do anything at the moment, so really there are 3 key ones, and they work on the basis of inheritance. So a viewer, the lowest level of those 3, viewer application role or users with it would be able to view and run visualizations. Users with the user application role would inherit the capabilities of a viewer, but additionally they can create visualizations, explore and load their data. And then administrators, or users with administrator application role, they would inherit user privileges, but in addition they can delegate privileges, and they have access to the console to perform administrative tasks. And I've already mentioned that the Identity Domain Administrator role by default gets administrator level application role. And the way that the inheritance works within DVCS is that effectively the administrator application role is a default member of the user application role, and then the user application role is a default member of the viewer application role. So, but in addition to the predefined application roles, you can also create your own custom application roles and then base these custom roles on the predefined ones. And so it's through that association that you control user access. So through assigning users, roles and application roles or custom application roles to your predetermined or predefined application roles is how the construct of access is managed. And application roles essentially control permissions to folders, projects and data sources, as well as controlling the functionality that users can perform within Visualiser projects. So that's a quick overview of the users and roles. So if we go back to DVCS itself, have a quick look round. So you can see we're in the user tab at the moment, and you can see I've been defined as a user, and that I've been given the identity domain administrator role, which gives me administrator level access. In addition, I've created a couple of sort of generic users, one called Explorer User and one called Explorer Viewer. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the Roles tab. I haven't actually myself defined any additional roles. The roles that you see here are those that come as default roles as part of Oracle's ODVCS trial, but you can see it does include the identity domain administrator. So we're moving on to application roles. You can see listed here we've got the predefined application roles, administrator, data loader, also user and viewer. And additionally, I have created a couple of custom application roles, view only and developer. So if I have a quick look at the options menu for the developer application role, we can see that the developer application role has been assigned to the user predefined application role. So any users that are assigned to the developer custom application role will inherit user capabilities. And similarly, if we look at the members and the users who are members of the developer application role, you can see that I've assigned Explorer User to the developer custom application role, and therefore Explorer User will inherit user capabilities. And similarly, if we look at the view only custom application role configuration, you can see the view only custom application role has been assigned to the viewer predefined application role, and so users in the view only application role will inherit viewer capabilities, and that includes my user, Mr. Explorer Viewer. So you can see it's quite straightforward and simple way of managing controls and access controls through users and roles within the console. That's just a quick overview there, but hopefully as the demonstration continues we'll see the importance of application roles in controlling access, particularly control access to the catalog content and to data sources, and depending on which application role, predefined application role you're ultimately a member of, that determines, as we've seen, what functionality you can perform within Visual Analyzer itself. So that concludes my overview of the console. If we now go on to look at the catalogue, essentially the catalogue is the area where we manage folders and permissions to folders and manage projects within those folders, including how they're shared. Now this window is pretty similar to a kind of generic file management system, and therefore it enables a similar sort of functionality. So I won't show these explicitly, but the sorts of things you can do here would be to create, delete and copy folders. You can manage the content within the folders, that is your Visual Analyzer projects, move them around between the folders. You can search the folders for your projects. You can add projects to your favorites, and you can change the display that's in front of you a little bit to suit your needs. And you can set some properties, including ownership of the projects. But perhaps the most important, based on what we've been seeing through the console, perhaps the most important aspect of the catalogue is this is where you set your permissions to folders and projects so that you can control which projects users have access to. So I'll quickly provide a brief demonstration of that aspect. And we can see we've got a company shared folder here, and it's through the company shared folder that your projects are shared over the cloud, and therefore users have access to projects within the company shared folder. And I've actually created two subfolders, one for projects in development and one for projects for other users to be able to view. And in each of those folders I've created a project. So the development project is in the project and development folder, and we have a view project in the projects to view folder. Now you can actually assign permissions both to a folder, and you can assign them to your project. Now I've actually assigned the same permissions to my folder as I have to my project, so I'll just show you one of these, but the principles are the same. So if we have a look at the development project and look at the permissions, you can see that I have only given access of my two custom application roles. I've only given permissions for my developer application role to access the development project and the project in development folder. So my user explorer user will have access to this folder, but not my user explorer viewer. And the permissions that are available to grant give full control, which will include allowing setting permissions. You have modify access, which allows read, write, delete and execute. We have open, which effectively allows the user to view the content of the folders and view the projects. You have no access, or you can set a custom access, which means you can vary a combination of these permissions listed. So my Explorer user will have read, write, delete and execute access to projects held within the development project folder. And similarly, if we look at projects to view and then the view project permissions, you can see I've actually assigned permissions or granted permissions to both of my custom application roles, although they're at different levels. So my developer application role or users within it will only be able to read the content of this folder, whereas Explorer viewer, the user who's been granted access to the view only or assigned to the view only custom application role, has a higher level of permission. Should just note that read, write, delete and execute relate to what users can do within the folders. They're the permissions to the folders and the projects. They're not actually, they shouldn't be confused with the functionality that you can use when they're within a project. So a view only or a viewer of a project will only be able to execute the project. It won't be able to make changes to the project once they're in it. Okay, so that's a quick overview of allocating permissions to the catalogue and to the projects within the catalogue, and also a quick explanation of the different permissions that are available. I really quite like this. I think it's quite a simple structure, if you like. There's only a few predefined application roles. There isn't an awful lot of different levels of functionality that users can perform. So it's quite an easy way of granting access, quite an easy system to administer in terms of permissions. However, you can build up your matrix, if you like, of access based on the catalogue and your permissions quite simply. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the catalogue. So next I'd like to go on to talk about data sources. But before we go through the demonstration on data sources, I'd just like to return back to a presentation slide to give you an overview of the data sources that are available to DVCS. Well, the data source area, to start with, is basically for managing the availability of your data sources and also providing the authorization or access to the data. The data sources that are available can be from Excel spreadsheet, or you can take data from another Oracle Cloud application. So you would connect to your Oracle BIE application. You'd then browse through the catalogues within that application to extract the analysis that you wanted to use, or alternatively you could enter the SQL directly to retrieve the data that you require. Now currently you can't yet connect directly to on-premise relational databases. You can actually with DVCS's sister product, Data Visualization Desktop, DVD. However, there are other mechanisms that you can use to extract data from your relational database, on-premise database, to DVCS. And one of those is data sync, or alternatively you might want to make use of Oracle Data Visualization Cloud Services REST API to load your on-premise data to DVCS. If you use data sync, you can schedule jobs that will create or refresh your data from a number of sources, including files, CSV or Microsoft Excel files, from your relational database tables, a number of databases available, or you can write your own SQL queries based on those tables, or alternatively source from Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the data sources that are available to DVCS. And if we go back into the data sources page in the demo, you can see I've preloaded in some data sources. Mostly they're actually Excel spreadsheets, but this one at the bottom here, test customer, that's actually one that I've used data sync to post to DVCS. Now, if you would like to create a connection to an Oracle Cloud application, you would do that through creating a new connection, an add connection, and then you would enter your connection details and your login credentials, and then save those, and then you can take your data sources from the analyses on that cloud application. I haven't actually got one myself, but that would be how you would do it. Once you've created your connections, or you found the Excel spreadsheet that you want to load up, you can create your new data source. So you do that from your Excel file or from your Oracle Cloud application, and then you'll load them in. I'm actually going to show you how to load up a new data source as part of a Visual Analyzer project, rather than doing it just at the moment. DVCS will attempt, if it can, to blend your data sources together, and that can only be done within a VA project, not within this data sources area. And so I'd like to demonstrate that alongside creating new data sources as we demonstrate Visual Analyzer. So I'll do that in due course. In the meantime, I can just quickly show you the options menu that's available for each of your data sources. So you can launch a VA project based on a particular data source from here. You can download your data source into Excel. You can reload the data if it's been updated and refresh it, and so it's reflected in your projects. Or you can delete the data source entirely. But I'm actually going to show you the inspect area of data sources. And to start with, as you go into inspect, you can see you get an overview of your data source in terms of which columns are available and whether the DVCS identifies the column as an attribute or as a measure, and also whether the column is matched to another column on a different data source. But again, I'm going to focus more particularly on the permissions aspect. So this is where you would assign and deassign users or application roles to your data source and decide which level of permission they've been granted. So you've got the list of users here. It actually says roles here, but if you look, these are actually application roles rather than roles that are being configured within My Services Administration. So you can see that application roles form a critical part of managing permissions within DVCS. Okay, so you can see that I've actually already assigned permissions to the data sources to my two custom application roles, different levels. So I've assigned the developer custom application role modify access to these data sources, so it will be able to load in the data or transform the data. And I've assigned my view only custom application role read only access. Other permissions available are full control, which allow you to manage permissions, and also there's providing no access at all. I should add that if you would want a user to be able to view a Visual Analyzer project, then you would need to assign that user, either directly or through application roles, at least read-only access to all of the data sources that underpin that particular project. So you need read access to the data to have read access to the project. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the data sources area. And now let's go into Visual Analyzer, and to start with, I'll just quickly create a new project. So if we create a VA project, when you launch a VA project, you're immediately confronted with the opportunity to add a data source to your project. So you could take an existing one, but in this case I'm going to create a new one from File. I'm going to take that I'm going to introduce some sales data. Now when you upload a file, DVCS illustrates some of the data for you. It shows you which columns are included in the file. It also takes a best guess as to whether it thinks that data is an attribute or a measure. Now this is sales data, so units and revenue should be considered measures, but perhaps store ID and item ID should be considered attributes, so I'm going to change those. And I'm going to add that sales data to my project. And you can see then that the sales data is displayed within your within your Elements pane in Visualiser. I'm going to quickly add a couple more data sources. Firstly, again both new ones, again from File. This time I'm going to add some calendar related data. Okay, so the calendar data is similarly displayed. Now in fact there's a number of fields or columns here that Visualiser has identified as measures, but I actually want them all to be considered as attributes, and I can change all measures to attributes quite quickly by using add facts and extended dimension, and then that changes all my measures to attributes. Now Visualiser hasn't actually found a match between the calendar data and the sales data, but actually I know from my knowledge of this data that the day date in the calendar data can be matched to the sales date in the sales data, and therefore that's how I could blend those two data sets together. Now DVCS attempts to match data sources or columns within data sources based on two things. Firstly, the column name, but then also the data type of the column. So in this case, although the data types are the same, they're both date columns, the names don't match, day date and sales date, so it hasn't found a match with these columns across the two data sets. But I can create one myself manually, and then so I can create the match and select which column I want to match to, and that's the sales date. I'll add that now add the calendar data to my project. Very quickly I'm going to add a third new data source from File, and this time it's going to be items data. Okay, so I've got my items data has been brought up in front of me, displayed in front of me. Now this time you can see that DVCS has found a match. It's found a match to item ID on the sales data. Just have a quick scan through the columns. Recommended retail price, I'd also like that to be an attribute. So, and now I can add the items data to my project. So that's a quick overview of how you can, when you launch a project, you can add data sources to the project and then match the data. Once you've added all your data sources, you can actually check the source diagram between that shows you the links, if you like, between the different data sources, the relationships between the entities, if you like, and if you click on the links, it shows you which columns have been linked, and you can choose to delete that relationship, or you can create another match. So you can manage your how your data is matched yourself manually if DVCS doesn't provide you what you want automatically. This is a quick look at the sources diagram. Okay, so we've got some data now showing in our elements pane. I'm going to quickly create a Visual Analyzer project, and simply by selecting some data elements. If I select revenue from my sales data, month from my calendar data, and then maybe operating system and category from my items data, and then drag those into my blank canvas, DVCS will attempt to find the best visualization it thinks will best represent that data. So by default, it has decided that based on the data I've selected, it's going to go for a horizontal stacked visualization, and then it quickly draws the visualization immediately in front of you. Now you can reformat your visualization using this Explorer pane here, and in fact I'm not so keen on this data being a horizontal stack graph. I prefer it to be a line graph, but you can see there's a number of visualizations that are available to you to represent your data, and just select the line. Okay, if you feel that your data needs transformation and that the data that you've loaded in doesn't best reflect or properly reflect what you would like to report, then you can use the stage area within Visual Analyzer. And this provides you with a display of your data sources that you've included in your project. And through here you can transform your data by applying functions to the columns. So we have character related columns, date columns, and number based columns here, and depending on which column type or data type your column represents, then you have different functions available that you can use to transform the data within that column. It won't actually change the underlying raw data. It's not actually editing the data of the data sources. It's simply applying a function to that raw data. So the raw data will remain unchanged. And you can see that for string data, you'll have different functions available to your numeric data, and again, different again to your date related columns. That's a quick view there of the stage area where you can transform your data in your VA projects. Okay, so that's a quick overview of introducing data sources to a new VA project and drawing your first visualization and potentially transforming your data. I'm now going to just go to an existing project to show you some of the other areas of functionality that are available. Firstly, you can create calculations. So you can see I've created a calculation called days to deliver. Now this is actually based on an expression, so you can apply a number of functions, or one from a selection of functions, apply that to your data elements from your data sources to create a calculation, and then you can use that calculation, days to deliver, within your visualizations. Additionally, you can see I've got multiple visualizations now on my canvas. Now equally, we can use, so this calculation is based on an expression, we can use expressions as part of filters, and this area up here is the filter pane, and this is where we manage our filters. So you can base filters on expressions, as you can use the same sorts of expressions for filters as you can for calculations. The only difference being that for filters they need to result or return a boolean rather than, for example, a calculated result. Additionally, we can have list type filters. So this is a small list, but I've selected one from a list of 2 mobiles, and I can temporarily remove or reapply a filter from a list so that you can see how that would change your data without actually entirely deleting the filter itself. Alternatively, you could have a range type filter both for dates or alternatively for measures. So for example, I could take in a range of units or revenue. Okay, so we've got multiple visualizations on our canvas. Now the filters that are on your or included in your filter pane are applied to all of your visualizations on the canvas. Now by default, visualizations on your canvas are synchronized, so that means all of the visualizations will have the same filters applied from this filter pane, but you can unsynchronize your visualizations as they are in this case, and that enables you to add additional filters at the visualization level. So although all the visualizations currently have these ones in the filter pane applied to all of them, you can apply additional ones. Okay, so if we look at some of the additional functionality that's available, by right-clicking on a visualization, you can bring up some extra functionality, including how you sort your data within your visualization. You can add a reference line, as I have in this case. I've added an average line, which is what the dotted line represented on that visualization is. You can change you can work with the colors of the visualization, and obviously take copies or delete your visualization. And additionally, this is through right-clicking on your visualization is how you can set properties, and that includes amending the title to your visualization. You can include or exclude your legend or position your legend. You can change some of the attributes of the visualization. You can change your axes labels, and you can change the aggregation method of your data, or your measure data. You can decide whether you want to show the actual values within your visualization, and you can also manage your reference lines, your analytic lines here as well. So you can see I've got the average reference line applied. Okay, so that's a quick overview of much of the functionality within Visual Analyzer. One key area of Visual Analyzer relates to the taking of insights and helping build stories. So you can see within your canvas you've got a kind of current view of your data, but as you're exploring your data, you may feel that you want to take snapshots of that data and then continue to explore and as your visualizations change, you still kept a record of your previous snapshots. And you can do that by taking what's known as insights. So as you explore your data, if you click on the light bulb, you can take an insight, which is a point-in-time snapshot of your visualization, and you can add a sort of title to it, add some comments relating to it so that your visualization has some context. And if you take multiple insights and build and add comments to each of these, providing context as your insights are taken, you can begin to build up a story. So as you take multiple insights, you begin to tell a story of what your data is representing. And you can see that we've got the story navigator open here, and you can navigate between the different visualizations or different insights that you've captured. And as you navigate between them and you refer to your comments associated with your insights, you're telling your story of your data. And additionally, that can be represented in presentation mode, which takes up the whole screen, but you can continue to navigate between your insights. So that's a quick overview of Insights and Story Navigator, which just about concludes my demonstration of DVCS. Before I return back to the slide presentation, I just quickly want to log out of DVCS as myself. And sign back in as one of my generic users. We'll go in as Explorer user. And this really I'm trying to illustrate here the sharing of your visualizations over the cloud for DVCS. So if I go to the company shared folder, I can see as Explorer user assigned to the developer custom application role, I can see the folders that custom application role have permissions to access. And for example, if I go into the development projects in development, I can see my development project, which I can enter. Excuse me, and I could then go in and edit this project based on the access that I have. And if you've got multiple users with access to this project, you can begin to collaborate with each other to make changes to your project and best explore your data. So that's a quick overview there of how you can share your content. And that concludes my demo of DVCS. Just want to return back to the slide presentation and introduce you a little bit to the sister project to DVCS, that being Data Visualization Desktop, DVD. Now this is broadly similar to DVCS, but recent versions of DVD have brought some additional functionality with it. So I'll just explain some of those differences between the two products. Firstly, DVD has no catalog or console. It's a single user on-premise installation. So there's not the same facility for sharing your data and projects, so that functionality of catalog and console is pretty much redundant. You can get direct connectivity to your on-premise databases with DVD, so that's a useful feature. And they include Oracle, SQL Server DB2, MySQL, and many others. Some are currently still in beta testing. Additionally, you can export and import at the project level rather than just at the catalog level with DVD. That's the mechanism really for sharing, one of the mechanisms for sharing content with DVD, where it's obviously just done over the cloud with DVCS. Visual Analyzer within DVD does include one or two extra visualization types, and also it allows you to use advanced analytics, for example highlighting outliers or overlay trend lines. In order to employ these, you need to install Oracle R. That comes with DVD, but it needs to be installed separately before you can take advantage of it. DVD has also very recently introduced the concept of data flows, and this allows you to transform your data before including those data sources, transformed data sources, in your VA projects. And finally, DVD allows you to export projects to either PDF or to PowerPoint. So there's some additional useful features in DVD that are currently missing from DVCS. I'd like to see these functionalities streamlined, and so that DVCS can take advantage of them too. So I'll move on to provide a little bit of details about the trials that are available and licensing. So DVCS, you can currently obtain that on a 30-day free trial from the website shown. Alternatively, you may want to try DVD out, and you can get a non-production version from OTN. Now, DVCS is licensed on a operational cost per month per user basis with a minimum 5 users, and currently on Oracle's website that cost is advertised at £110 per named user per month, and DVD is packaged at no extra cost with each DVCS or BICS license. So there's a bit of detail there about licensing and trials. So that just about concludes my presentation. In summary, just like to sort of mention 6 things that you should take away with you about DVCS today. Firstly, the DVCS is definitely a low-cost introduction to analytics. It could be an alternative to a full BICS license, or maybe a potential replacement if you're a discovery user. It's quick to learn and build projects for. There's no specialist IT skills or training required. You can get going straight away, and enabling faster development. It's a pretty intuitive tool to use. User interaction removes the boundaries between discovering and displaying your data. You know, as you make changes to your sort of discovering your data, they're immediately represented in your visualizations. So it's easy to build your reports. DVCS employs some smart features to enable you to do this, including automatic blending of your data and automatic selection of visualizations. DVCS in particular is mobile. It can be used anywhere on any device, not just for viewing content, but also for authoring your content. And it's through this mechanism that you can begin to collaborate, both in building projects and then sharing your findings over the cloud with insights and stories. So that concludes my presentation insights into Oracle's data visualization cloud service. If you have any questions, do please email me. Also, do have a look at Explorer's website, where you can see my series of blogs on data visualization and lots more content. Alternatively, or additionally, do follow us on Twitter, where you can get updates for any future changes, notifications of updates, and new content. Thanks very much for listening.